If you're inspired by epic journeys, personal growth, or just want to hear a wonderful story about someone's coming of age throughout a long, long career in a sport, then this episode is for you.
Yo, Ari, can you hand me that glove?
For sure.
Oh, that is an absolutely disgusting glove, but not as disgusting as wearing any other brand. Shop Prieur USA. All right, welcome back.
Hello.
Another week, another episode.
Yeah.
One that we've been very excited since the inception of this to have.
Yeah.
How have you been, Ari? How's the week shaping up?
I've been great. Dealing with a little bit of hammy tightness, as you know, so been just trying to warm into it and get the juices flowing, but nothing like a good old episode of direct elimination to make me feel better. And honestly, the last couple that we recorded were great. You know, getting Grant, Lauren, and Sam was a real honor. It was really fun to get to do it with, you know, both our Prieur teammates as well as an Olympic legend like Lauren. It was wonderful hearing all of their takeaways and mentalities. And I'm just excited to get, as you said, this episode up and running because this is a guest who has an extreme wealth of experience and knowledge about the sport and just a story.
Absolutely. And I just an additional shout out, like having grown up, you know, following this guy's career, a lot of cool experiences too that were very unique for fencers that I thought were awesome as just watching as I was growing up. So I hope we can hear about a lot of this.
Yeah.
But I guess without further ado, we'll get to the resume.
Yeah, let's get to the resume. So this is just some of the accolades that our guest today has as an individual. So mind you, plenty of team accolades, but as an individual, we have a 2-time senior individual national champion, a 4-time first-team All-American, 2-time individual NCAA champion, a Rio Olympic Games individual silver medalist, the Senior World Championships individual silver medalist, 3-time Olympian, 3-time individual Pan American champion, 1-time Grand Prix bronze medalist, 2-time World Cup bronze medalist, 9-time season finished top 16 ranked in the world athlete. That's a mouthful. I don't even know how to say that right. But basically, 9 times this guy finished top 16 in the world in seniors. And our Prieur USA teammate, Daryl Homer.
Woo! Hey guys, thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Daryl.
Welcome to the
Thank you.
show.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
And also, our...
What is a fourth? Yeah, this is the fourth.
Prieur episode.
Perfect.
Fourth PPP episode. We're excited for every Prieur episode.
For sure.
Just because it took us a while to get there. But now we ripped the Band-Aid off and we're getting all of Prieur on this show.
Good. You better.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to get to know you better and just hear your story. So I guess we'll jump right into it. The first thing we always like to ask is just sort of generally, who are you? How'd you get into fencing? Why fencing? And run through the story of just your journey with the sport.
Yeah. So Daryl Homer, as you guys introduced, I appreciate you guys for having me. I read about fencing when I was 5 in a children's dictionary. And I lived in the Bronx, ran to my mom like, yo, I want to try this out. She kind of looked at me like, fencing? Like, what are you talking about? And I think like everyone else, like the random movies, like The Parent Trap had that fencing scene with the Olsen twins, The Mask of Zorro. But I think the final catalyst for me actually getting involved in the sport, I was watching television with my mom and there was an ad. They were trying to have the Olympic Games in New York in 2004, I believe.
I heard about this from an Uber driver one time. The bid. And
Huge bid, and they had an ad, 2 African-American men fencing for a New York City yellow cab, and it was the swaggiest thing. It was like the old guy reaches for the cab, the young guy cuts him off and takes it, and the old guy was Peter Westbrook, and the young guy was Aki Spencerell, right? Make the world small, right? But I ran to my mom, I was like, remember I wanted to try this out? And she's like, okay, cool. And for all the kids looking, there was a book called The Yellow Pages before Google that had everyone in the city's number in it. So we went to the Yellow Pages, we looked under fencing, found a club, the New York Fencers Club, and that's really how I started. The next Saturday I went down and got into the Peter Westbrook Foundation, and it was, from there it was on and popping.
That's pretty sick.
That's awesome.
That's a cool way to find it.
Yeah.
They have fencing in children's dictionaries. That's good to know.
Yeah, there was like it was just fencing definition, and there was a picture of the guy in the outfit. That's what really sold me on it. The outfit just looked beautiful. It was like all white, like the old classic photos of fencing. Yeah. So I really
was he doing this?
I think he was more in like one of the one of those poses.
That's cool.
But it was dope.
That's cool. Nice. So you mentioned you lived in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And you ended up starting at New York Fencers Club. Is that Fencers Club?
So the Fencers Club, and the Peter Westbrook Foundation was inside of it. Yeah. So initially my entry point into fencing was the Fencers Club or the foundation,
Got it. Awesome. So I think an important piece of today's episode is capturing your story, your journey. And we got the very beginning, and let's just get right into it, right? So you grew up in the Bronx, and this is fencing. Let's not beat around the bush. You are born in 1990. You found fencing in 1995 in a dictionary.
Nah, like 2000. I found it in 1995.
Yeah, you found it in 1995. You started fencing around like 2000.
Word.
Around 2000, I would say it's still in its, I don't want to say infancy, but it's not anywhere. It's grown exponentially since then. So at that point in time, PWF is not a huge organization yet.
No, it's big. You have 2000. You think about you have Aki Spencerell coming back from the Olympic Games, Keith Smart coming back from the Olympic Games, Aaron Smart coming back from the Olympic Games. It was like the energy was
good.
It was dope.
I'm being schooled. That's important.
Yeah. No, they had 3 Olympians going to that went to the Athens Olympic Games.
Okay, that's sick. So PWF is already large. That probably helped a lot in your immersion in the sport, because where I was really trying to get is like the sport was still, and still is to this day, but like at that time in the US, it's like predominantly white sport, right? And you're growing up in the Bronx. You're not fencing in the Bronx, right? Like what was that like, grappling with your identity and your school life and trying to just grow up with life in the Bronx, and then this sport that is catering to people who have a lot different of a background and life experience from you at the time, especially.
So it's like a funny thing. Like I actually tested into a private school on the Lower East Side. Like literally the year I started fencing. So my social life was all downtown at that time. So I'd leave the Bronx at probably 6, 7 a.m., go to school at 8, finish at 2:30, go to fencing practice and go home at like 9. So I would say like my life in the Bronx literally became I slept there. And I pretty much was always downtown. I think what really helped like the adjustment period into the sport was I had the foundation, first of all, was predominantly African American. So I'm going to name some names that you guys may not know, but Marty Williams started fencing with me. He went to Sacred Heart. Ross Davidson, who was the coach at Cobra Fencing. Ross actually won the Cadet World Championship medal the year before me in 2006 in Quebec City. But like we all were together, Alex Ochoki, who's now the senior national coach for men's saber, he and I grew up together every day at practice. So we had this group of guys that like, we were all kids, we were all kind of from humble means, and we all would travel the world together eventually, or room together at hotel, or room together at the NACs and stuff like that. So I would say like that, definitely having that group of guys really helped. And then you have Keith Smart, who's number 1 in the world in 03, right? Who's a guy who has the same coach as me. So I have someone to look up to, and just someone who took a really big interest in me and helped me push me to be great. I remember he pulled me aside when I was 14 and told me like, hey, you're not doing the things that it takes to be great. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm doing X, Y, Z, A, B, and C. And he's like, you're not doing what it takes to be great. If you listen to me, you'll be great. And 2 years later, I won a Cadet World Championship medal, So I think that just like I had so many African-American influences in the sport who were on a high level that I was able to look up to people. I mean, Peter to me is still the GOAT in men's saber. And he was someone I got to fence with every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as a kid.
That's awesome.
And to get to see physically, I mean, I've reread his book, Harnessing Anger, probably hundreds of times throughout my life, right? It's just like kind of like a Bible to me, so to speak. So I think I was very, very lucky to have such an immense group of people around me. And you even think about my sister fenced as well. So you had Nzinga Prescott as well. So people like that, we all came up together. Miles Chimley Watson, we all were at the club together. We all came up together, and I think we all supported each other in a way.
It's amazing. I think that is incredibly lucky. I think that not just to be around other people that, are in to the same thing that you are, but also to, we talk about it a lot in society, having role models that look like you, that you're able to have access to within the sport, within your same journey, so it's possible. And not only that, like, they're within you can talk to them, you can fence with these guys. That is amazing. And I think that probably did frame the journey quite a bit.
Yeah. And even think today, like, the success of the Korean team, how much that's led to growth of Korean participation in the sport here in the States, right? So I think that, representation is huge across the board. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think that was ignorant of me to forget that you started fencing in the wake of a lot of these greats. Like, I knew you were fencing at the same time that Keith and that team. And, I know Aki was fencing at that time too. I just, for some reason, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I was just thinking Bronx, fencing, and then, that's a really good point though. And I think that those guys, Keith is getting a lot of shout outs on this show, actually. Keith, we're recording in a couple weeks. He said yes to being on this podcast. Yeah. So we'll hopefully get Aki on eventually as well, and some of the other people that you named. I think that that era of fencing, Keith inspired a myriad of people. Like, there have been multiple guests on this show that said they got their start in fencing because they saw Keith on TV. Yeah.
I mean, Keith and I'm telling you, he didn't say it in such a nice way, but he was just like, hey, if you follow me, like, you'll be great, right? But I can tell you, Keith used to fence me. When I was a kid, he'd say, you're up 7-0, and if you beat me, I'll give you, I'll give you $50 if you beat me, and if I beat you, you have to give me a Gatorade, right? And that was a way of making the practice difficult for him, right? But I would struggle. I think once I beat him, but I would struggle to beat him, And I remember the first time I made a top 4 in senior, I actually fenced Keith, and I fenced him at one of my first senior World Cups, and at the Beijing Olympic Games, I was literally writing him after the individual tournament, like, hey, I think you could have done X. It was so inappropriate, but I think you could have done X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C in this match. And, he would respond. Like, he'd be at these training camps in Europe and write back to me about how, I was like, hey, did you fence Poznikov today? Like, just asking all these questions. And he always gave me game. He allowed me to learn on his dime, and I think that was like really, 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 really impactful for my growth as an athlete.
Yeah, you're really nurtured by one of the greats.
Yeah, he and Pete were like deep.
That's sick.
That's so cool.
So,
and I mean, it reminds me of a lot of the relationships that, like, I had growing up as well, just with older fencers, but that degree of, how legendary those guys were, like, that's super cool. I can only imagine just like what that was like as like a young fencer. That must have been like just really like nostalgic, I guess, in a sense, but like that sounds super fun.
Not at the time though.
No, but like to look back on it now.
Fighting tooth and nail.
Even I remember they used to have the World Cup. I mean, it was the best World Cup final in history. Like, they had it in Grand Central. Yeah. Like, Grand Central, the World Cup final, and I remember they had the top 64 at Hunter College, and myself, Ross, we just run around following Keith everywhere. Like, I remember one of the guys in the foundation actually medaled the tournament, wore a PWF warm up on the podium, and everyone was like, this is incredible. Like, so I think, just seeing those guys compete and just watching them be great was so important to me, because I would sit at home and imagine that I was Keith, like, let's say Keith got like 5th at a World Cup in Hungary. I'd be like, okay, I'm at the Y12 version of that World Cup. And I'm like, I'm going to do well too. And that's like how I came up imagining about the sport and imagining my success in it. So, those guys, I owe the world to, and I'm grateful now that I can like sit at the table with them and be great amongst them. But yeah, for sure.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
So the next sort of segment question we have, we call it your all-in moment. And you might have touched on it. It could have been this moment that you described with Keith, but it's just this sort of moment in your career. It could have been one. It could have been many. Maybe you didn't have one, but where you sort of decided, like, fencing, this is it. Like, this is for me. I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to do everything in my power to to be good at this and to pursue it to my fullest potential? Is that the moment that you sort of touched on, or were there
3?
All right,
Ooh,
we'll take them.
So the first one is when, I'm like 15 or 14 and Keith tells me like, you can be great, right? And you need to come and do footwork 40 minutes before practice, and you have to stop goofing around, And some of my friends to this day make jokes about this, but like, I would literally get to practice. I knew I like loved goofing around with my friends at practice, right? So I'd get to practice like an hour before them, do like 40 minutes of footwork, and then they come. And then like I'd start like, hey, we could goof around a little bit, but they didn't realize I was like doing work before. And I think it's always funny because Aki said the same thing, Peter said the same thing. He'd like sneak footwork in after everyone left at night. Like there's a moment where everyone's like, let me get a little extra in, right? So I'd say that was one. I think in college, my freshman year, I just kind of like really locked in. No one does this, but I put all my classes at like 7:30 in the morning so I could train all day after. Like that's just what my mindset became. And I would train at school, then leave, and then 2 hours later train in the city with Tim Morehouse and all those guys, and that just became like my routine, so to speak. And I'd say the third one, when I was graduated school, I already made the London Olympic Games. I started working in advertising at a big agency, and I'm smooth. So I started convinced the agency to make me an athlete in residence. So I gave sport-based insights on business, and they let me fence full time, and they would pay me my salary. That was an all-in moment because I had, at that time, a very, very, very strict mentality for what I wanted my life to look like. But I decided, I have 2 years to try to make this Olympic Games and make it the best Olympic Games possible. I knew I'd probably make it, but I wanted to do something really special there. And I think immediately following that's when I made my first Grand Prix pre-final. Like, before that, the conversation was, and I think something we'll get to is like, for everyone watching, is like the conversations around fencing, right? Like, you're only as good as your last medal, But I remember like from 2009 to like 2009 to, no, let's say 2013 to 2015, I probably was in like 50% of the top 8s at World Cups and Grand Prix. And it was, he'll never make a top 4. He can't make a top 4, right? And like freak things would happen that would make me not make a top 4. Like I'd parry someone and cross my leg so I lose the point or something like that, 14-14. But immediately following that, I made my first top 4 to Grand Prix. And like 6 months after that, I got the second place at the World Championships.
I remember that.
And then, so things just flowed, and I think that was probably a moment for me where it was like, okay, this is what I want to do.
That's really awesome. And speaking of that silver in Moscow, I remember I've made one senior team in my life so far, and that was it.
Oh, word.
I was in Moscow with you guys. I remember watching you at that tournament. It was awesome. I'm a year younger than Eli, so at that time, I think I was the youngest person, or Sabrina might have been the youngest person on the team, but I was one of the youngest people on the team. Just really big-eyed, and then I got to see some amazing performances. We got the Zinga medal. We got Garrick and Alexander medal.
Yeah.
You got a silver, and that was legendary. And then a year later, I was in the room in Rio de Janeiro when you got your next silver medal.
We were at your house like 2 weeks before that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a great time.
But another thing I want to touch on is like that group.
Yeah.
No group will ever. I will stand on this. No group will ever touch that. Like, I mean, I was in junior with Garrick, Miles, like the Hurleys. It was amazing because Lee, Nzinga, we were on teams together from all the way when we were younger, all the way up, and that was like such a beautiful experience to have. We all went to the Olympics together multiple times. It was such a beautiful experience to have as a group. Alex, we all came up together, and we'd all see each other and we'd all cheer for each other when we were 16 in Budapest, 18 in Antalya. We all came up, and I never took that for granted because it was just so beautiful to just know how dominant everyone was and how good everyone was.
I mean, it's safe to say, because we're, again, just a couple years removed from you guys, that era, we referred to that foil team as the
God Squad?
Yes, other than the God Squad. But that whole era that you just described, a generation of fencers, they really reshaped what's possible for USA fencing. Y'all's dominance at the junior level influenced our dominance at the junior level, which influenced what we're currently seeing, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
I remember if we have one or
Medal.
2 gold medals, and then in my generation it was like, okay, we got 1 gold at Worlds, 2 golds at Worlds. That's sick. That's a huge win. Now it's like 8 golds at Worlds.
We expect to win medals. Yeah,
We're the number 1 country for junior and cadet Worlds, and we're approaching the number 1 country at senior Worlds at this point. Are. I mean, and that a large part of that push was done by this generation you just shouted out.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I can also say like 01, I think they won a gold medal in the team tournament. Tim Hageman. I know Tim Hageman was on that team. So
no, and then the men's epee team like Seth Kelsey and that
sure.
group won the medal. But I'm just talking about as an overall generation and an overall organization of USA fencing. It's not
organization of USA. I think that was talent based. That was talent pushing.
But still, that group showed the rest of USA fencing's youth, like our generation and the people below us. Hey, this is what's possible.
For sure.
Like we could be, you all, if you put all the pieces together, could be this good for that long.
For sure.
And it's possible. It's not like you could just go to this World Cup for the sake of going to the World Cup. Like y'all can go and win across all the weapons.
For sure.
It was sick. So thank you for that.
No, I appreciate you.
Thanks for that whole generation.
Yeah. Shout out that whole generation for reframing what's possible.
Being epic. So going off of Steven's question with the all-in moment, I think that it's really important to capture not just the moment that brought you or moments that helped reinforce your commitment to your passion, but really a deeper thing, what sparks that passion? Why fencing? What about you or the sport it makes you keep choosing to buy all into the sport, to come back, to reinvent yourself, to continue coming. I mean, you're coming back from a career-ending injury. Like you're back, not coming back anymore. But you came back from a career-ending injury. For most people, it's not clearly didn't end your career, but you've also persevered through Olympic cycle after Olympic cycle after Olympic cycle. I've been around for a while at this point. Steven's been around for a while at this point. It's a lot of time to continue buying all in. So what sparks that for you?
I mean, I just love. I think there's a quote in the movie. I just love the hustle. I love the game. I mean, I love this sport. I love the way it challenges me. I love the way it humbles me. I love that I can express myself through it. It's just a beautiful, once you've reached those highs, there's you just want more of them. I do think to the point you're making, I am getting to a point where I'm weighing the sacrifice it takes to be, people say age and stuff like that. It's not really age, it's about how much you're willing to sacrifice and how much you're willing to put on the back burner in your life. And I think that for the longest time, I'd skip a wedding for fencing. I'd skip a graduation for fencing. I'd skip a birthday for fencing. I didn't care. I was just all in on that. And I think that's starting to shift for me. So I think it's more about just with high level athletics, it's more about what you're willing to give of yourself, as opposed to age, I actually think.
Yeah, and you see that actually. I know I'm taking over here.
No, you're good. No, I'm just really, truly enjoying listening. You have very beautiful way of putting these things. And I
appreciate you.
It's cool to hear.
I also like your voice. I don't want to be weird about it, but keep talking, man.
No, it's a great way to frame, something that I think Ari and I are even struggling with now. The post-college fencing life, there's a lot that you sacrifice to go train every day. There's a lot that you sacrifice to go to these competitions, and it's a balancing act. I know I tried initially to find that balance of I'm going to go do this event for work and skip a practice here, but I've come to realize it requires quite a bit of sacrifice. And I think it's a testament to your love for the game and who you are as a person that you've been able to continue to make these sacrifices and choose the sacrifices over the other things. So it's well put. It's something that people who want to pursue this for a long time should be aware of. But I think
just pursue it to a high level at any point in your life. I I remember just even in high school, like being a high level high schooler, you're missing a lot of school.
For sure.
Like, I was fighting truancy cases with my school district. People sacrifice their prom. Not that that's like a huge deal, but that becomes a bigger deal when it's, people's weddings, people you really care about. They're the biggest moments of their lives.
For sure.
You're letting them know that they're not bigger than whatever it is you're doing.
For sure.
And I've had so many friends already to this day say, yeah, but it's okay. I know what you're about. I know your journey. I respect it. And they might get it and they don't fault you for it, but that just starts to weigh on you at a certain point. Like, how many of these huge moments am I going to miss?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I totally agree with you. And you actually hear that too for other top level athletes. Some of them don't even say, oh, Tom Brady or LeBron, they're not like, oh, I'm not good at this sport anymore. They're just like, I want to be with my family.
Yeah, I want to chill out.
Yeah,
and do other things.
Like
yeah,
it's very particular wording, right? I'm not done with this sport. I just have to choose my family now. I've been choosing this sport for so long.
For sure.
I can still cook you guys, but I have this other stuff, and it's true because we see it. You're still skilled, dude. You got the sauce.
And sometimes, like before Peter Westbrook passed away, the conversations we were having is like, you doing other things sometimes gives you more width in the sport. Like it takes the, he always said you're looking at life through like a pinhole. He's like, but if you have to look at it bigger, there's more you can get from the sport, So I think that's definitely something I'm embracing more now, but it's difficult. Like we spend our whole lives. Think about who 5 days a week does the same thing from when they're 11 till they're 35. Us, right? Who does that?
Yeah.
Who signs up?
Yeah.
To feel who signs a paper is like, hey, I want to feel bad when I don't do well. Yeah. I'm going to train my hardest to do well, knowing that a lot of times it won't happen, and I'm going to feel terrible about myself.
Yeah, no,
who signs up for that? Like, who signs up to fight? 5 times a week.
Yeah, it's true.
People who like to fight.
Yeah, people who like to fight. Yeah.
I think that touches on, I was going to bring this up later, but there's no real schedule to what we're doing today. So I think this is a great time to talk about it. You're talking about seeing things in a bigger scope for the sport. It's not just you and your fencing journey anymore. It's now the sport of fencing and transcending just the game that you're playing and seeing how big that movement can really become. We're seeing it here. Steven and I are testing the waters with this podcast. I'm trying to do a lot of stuff with other fencers to elevate the sport. Something that you've done very recently that I'd like to bring up, and this is not the only thing you've done by any means. We know you're involved with a lot of stuff, and we're going to bring up PWF again later in this podcast, but something that you did recently, and I believe you took another future guest of ours with you, Khalil Thompson.
Yeah.
You were in Benin.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about that experience? And it ties in directly with what we're talking about, right?
I think like one of the beautiful things about this sport, or my experience in the sport, is like, it's actually allowed me to explore more of my identity, right? So I've gone to Senegal for fencing. I probably would have never, I can't imagine a world where I would have gone to Africa with the consciousness I had as a kid. But just being able to go to Africa, being able to plant a seed with something I love there, and be able to kind of share my gifts with people is something I'm really, really passionate about. I think that started with the Peter Westbrook Foundation, just being like a kid in that program and growing up and being one of the leaders in it. I think that naturally my interest set and naturally like the places I want to go, I'm more willing to kind of take that kind of idea and bring it there as well. So it was an amazing trip. I actually want to say shout out to Ruth Moon.
Shout out Ruth Moon.
Yeah, she has an amazing initiative she's doing over there. Her mom does a lot of programming there, so she's hyper involved with the federation there. And we had just an amazing time. Like, I think those guys, they have a big épée program there.
Yeah.
But we were teaching literally kids who fenced épée saber, and kind of raising the
We're not
level.
upset about it.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. But
competitions are big enough.
When you see people who are just so hungry to learn, and who are doing beautiful things with less resources, it's just like an amazingly humbling thing, and it's amazingly like it gives a ton. And to even see Khalil there and like how he reacted to everything was really beautiful to share that experience with him. So I think it's planting seeds, man. Planting seeds and see what they grow into, you know?
Absolutely.
And it's I think it's about empowering people. And I think that's what I really love to do.
Yeah. You're not falling on deaf ears here.
I appreciate you.
That is, first of all, beautiful. Second of all, our goal. We're doing it in bite-sized chunks here and there with getting to elevate these athletes that we respect so greatly, but also just trying to reach the ears and these stories that you have to share. And we're going to talk more about mentality. And you've already started to open up a little bit about the way you think, but shortening the distance between whoever is listening to this and
Facts.
someone like you is huge, because you already get to do that with the kids at PWF. You coach at Tim Morehouse fencing, right? So that's already a very large group of people that get to have access to your thoughts and your insights and inputs. But why not open that door even wider?
For sure.
I think that's awesome. We got to do something cool like that. Well, one step at a time.
Gotta plant some seeds, man. No, that's awesome. How just that line of plant the seeds, see what they grow into it's the hope, right? It's the hope and the dream, and whatever it is you do, when you reach a point where you're able to give back, I think that's another mark of success. It's not just the results that you personally are able to achieve and take away, but it's what can you create for someone else?
I think that's a huge part of it. I think the other part is when you do things like that, you'd be shocked what you receive as well. I guess I'm someone that really enjoys giving and receiving intimacy, right? Like when you're teaching someone and they're teaching you, there's a lot of intimacy in that, right? And I think just really I learned so much from just seeing different things. I'm just damn, okay, I need to humble myself in these ways, or I need to reflect on my own. Why am I putting so much pressure on myself if other people have a completely different situation or would be just grateful to be in my situation? So I really just try to keep things in perspective, and to constantly put myself in situations where I have to question the way I think about things so I can grow.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And I also think that in those moments, it challenges, we talked about this all-in moment, and you talked about Peter Westbrook telling you about seeing things through this very, very thin lens, right? Or scope, or narrow scope. And all of a sudden in those moments, the results, the journey to just try and qualify for another games or win another medal at a World Cup or NAC or whatever, that fades away. And it becomes something that is much more of a conversation and exchange of personhood, and you're connecting with other people just through a shared passion. The other stuff doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, it was actually cool. Before the Rio Olympic Games, we had an orientation, and there was a wrestler from 2000. I forgot his name, but I think he said something along the lines of dude, I won an Olympic gold medal. When I fight with my wife today in 2016, I can't run and put my medal on and feel good. I have to deal with real life. And I think that was it was deep, because it's we chase this thing thinking it's going to change your life. It doesn't change your life. You have to be a regular person after. And, there's a quote at the USOTC from Jesse Owens about the battles within being the most important. It's not the battles. The battles for medals are cool, but it's all about growth and tackling your issues. And that's something I really got from Peter. The tagline for the foundation is it's being an Olympian in fencing is great, but he wants Olympians in life, right? And I think that's the thing I strive for. I'm not always there, but I strive to be in life better than I am in fencing. Whatever I do next, I want to be better at than I am in fencing. Fencing is great, but it's not everything.
I hear you, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So how do you what's that balance when you're pursuing the greatness in fencing, right? When, we talked about sacrifices for the sport being greater than the rest of life, but you also have to recognize that, there is real life beyond this. How do you feel that that's a give and take kind of push and pull kind of thing? Or is there how do you approach that when you're in the fencing fight, I guess?
Yeah. It's about, making an Olympic team is a 4-year plan. It's not just I think a lot of people think that they can just show up during qualification and make it. You might be able to make it, but the reality is it's a 4-year plan. So if you look even at the European teams, because I think they have it a bit more systematized than we do, like a top athlete in Europe is probably going to go light the year after the games, right? They'll probably start getting back into shape the second season and start peaking probably middle second season, going into the qualification period, blah, 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 and then they go up. But they build over 4 years. I think in the U.S. we have a pressure of just being good for 4 years straight, good for 8 years straight, good for 12 years straight. It's not possible. So I think what I've been able to do, is just bake in just understanding, and sometimes I do this better than other times, but just baking in like it's a 4-year plan and you're building within a 4-year plan as opposed to like you're trying to max yourself out all the time for 4 years. And I think that's like the big thing.
I think Steven and I have definitely struggled with that. I'm gonna just outright say it.
Yeah.
I think that is a mental shift that has definitely has set other people outside of men's epee in particular apart from our group, because y'all have found a way to make that a reality for you, whereas we're still fighting to make a team, and it's like making a team is what we're doing. Seth Kelsey actually had this quote. He said the way he competed and the way he thought about the sport shifted immensely when he stopped thinking about making a team and started thinking about winning a world championships medal or winning an Olympic medal. The plan just becomes a lot longer. It's a lot less about, I need to get a result here right now for this tournament, right? And it becomes a lot more about, how am I going to train to put myself in the best situation so that when I'm in these tough moments later, I can handle that. And then it's a long plan of self-improvement. And it goes back to what we're talking about. It's like, how can we use fencing to make yourself a stronger person, to make yourself more resilient, to make yourself better? Because that's what's going to come through in these battles for medals. That's what comes through there. That, and sometimes it won't come through, but you will still have gone on that journey to make yourself better. And you'll come out of it knowing that you had done that. And that's the confidence.
Dude, I mean, and we just finished the October NAC. Yeah. Like, what country in the world fences a NAC with professional athletes 4 weeks into people training? That doesn't even make sense. And I think sometimes I just wish the scheduling reflected the fact that you want people to make high-level results. Like, there's no reason people should be fencing from October to August and have a month and a half off.
No, it's highly amateur.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we can call it what it is. Yeah, for sure. And I think, it's very frustrating too. Like,
it's not catering to you, dude. It's catering towards 10-year-olds.
Exactly, 14-year-olds. Yeah.
It's catering to people that need to get into college, which U.S. fencing has done a great job of. And kids are getting really good by the time they need to get into college, because their season, in theory, ends in February, ends in April. So October to April. Everything else doesn't really matter, right? We have not adjusted that plan, that system for the seniors. Regardless of how awesome your era and generation has been, you guys maybe prove that we don't need to adjust it. It's they'll be good anyways. I'm just kidding.
No, yeah.
It is broken.
Yeah, for sure.
Because then it also makes it challenging. It's like, if you are hurt, I'm experiencing this too. I just spent a whole season gone. If you are hurt, you're SOL. It's like, you got to climb from the depths. Yeah. You know what that's like. You just did it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you're ranking? We just had 4 NACs, October, November, December, January. You missed them, Daryl. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that is challenging. But I still think that somehow abstracting from that and making it a 4-year plan helps, even in this scenario. It helps you weather that storm.
It's hard. There's a younger guy I speak to now, a younger athlete, and I tell him, like, and this is the tough part, right? Like, you don't want to limit people, but I tell him, like, 2032 is your Olympic Games, right? And this guy's looking at me like, 2032, like, I want it now. And I'm like, I know you want it now, but you have to realize it's 2032 for you. It's competitive. It's very competitive. I'm not even on the team right now. You know what I mean? So it's hard because in some ways, the beauty of USA fencing is anyone can do it.
Yeah.
But it's also like, if you have a plan, you can work within that plan. Like, you can and if you beat the plan, great. But like, it just helps you to just focus fully on other things as opposed to just, I'm going to get another lesson. I'm going to do more footwork. I'm going to, it helps you
not
build a
burn out.
system. Yeah, build a system. Like, I really don't believe, I mean, there are some people that get better just being in the gym, fencing. But like, for the most part, you have to, there's experience you can't rush. There's a process you can't rush. There are losses you can't rush. There are wins that you should have that you don't get that you can't rush. Like, there's a whole, it took me 5 years to make my first top 8 in cadet, right? I fenced from 11 till 16 or 11 till 15 without making a top 8, right? So there were periods of time where I got second at every NAC. For me to learn how to win a NAC took me forever. Like, for me to learn how to win a 64 Battle World Cup took forever. So I think it's just like, I think people try to rush it, and I think that's the really hard part.
Yeah, I think we've both been victim to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, just learning patience over the last couple of years, because it's success when you're young kind of comes, and you don't really always fully understand why. You're like, I'm destined for greatness. I'm gonna be the GOAT, whatever it is. But at a certain point, like, the drip stops, and you got to figure out, how are you gonna do this now, right? Like, how are you gonna face that and overcome whatever causes you to not have that success anymore, whether it's injury or you're not progressing at the same rate of others or you're regressing or whatever it is.
You have to go to college.
You have to go to college.
You need an adjustment.
Or you're after college, whatever these adversities are in your life, like, how are you going to overcome that? And I think for me, like, learning that patience of just being like, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to take a long-term approach on this and just try and get a little bit better every day. It was very frustrating, but it brought a lot of peace in the work that I'm doing and in the game,
Yeah. I mean, I tell people this all the time. And again, you'll see someone young make a result. And I'm like, it's because no one, I hate to put it like this, like the kid could be talented, but it's like no one in the tournament is paying attention to them. And it's like, when people pay attention to you, it's a whole different game. Like, when people are there's a complete, you guys are Fence World Cups. Like, there's a difference when you first show up and everything works, and when people are like, okay, this is what he does.
I made 4 or 5 second days my first season on the circuit.
Yeah.
And then I made 1 since.
No, people figure it out. They're like, yo, I'm keyed in.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, he's good at that. Just avoid that.
Yeah. And they talk to
Everyone
each
talks.
other. Yeah.
Oh, him, you show him that, and
Or he's going to flush you. If you just like sit back for long enough, he's just going to go.
Yeah.
And then I'm facing it and I'm not changing. And I feel you. Because then it's like, this is before, I'm changing now. But seriously, it's true. And you said it really well. You can't rush some of these things. That kid, for example, or any of you listening to this, you could beat your plan, and that's amazing, but you shouldn't expect to. You should be setting milestones throughout the plan that are realistic, and you should be hitting them. And if you don't, that's also not a failure. That's just data. It's all data.
Word.
But if you don't mind, I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit. We have a lot of questions. I don't think we're going to have time to get through all of them, but I am very curious as to what you have to say about this. Just in general, it's something that some of the athletes have talked about, and we'll see if you want to. But if you don't mind sharing, what has been, in your opinion, your biggest setback or adversity that you faced in the sport, and how did that shape you, or how did you find a way to get through that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely me tearing my Achilles in Budapest, right? I definitely knew once it happened. I was like, yeah. I was like, damn. And then, everyone's looking at you like the grim, like you're like the dead emoji. Everyone's like, it's done. And I think that I'll tell you 2 things that were interesting. One, like, my first thought was like, how do I get back? Like, I wasn't really paying attention to the time. I already knew I'd beat the timeline. That wasn't going to bother me, but I knew people were telling me it was a year and a half, no fencing, or a year and a half, you're going to be out. That means I'm definitely going to miss the Olympic Games. So, I leaned on I texted Peter, I told people, and, I had a call with a guy who was a fencer, actually, Dr. Ivan Madrid. He was Bob Cottingham's roommate in college, but he did my surgery. And I told him to put extra love in it. And, you know, I had a PT lined up, and I really started PT probably fairly quickly after I tore my Achilles. And to be honest, I was back fencing. People think this is crazy, but I was back training, not heavily, but by late May, I could fence matches.
And when was Budapest?
Budapest was March.
Okay.
So, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now, a lot of people were like, oh my God, you shouldn't be doing that, But I had an expert team around me. So I'd say by the time the World Championships came around, and this is me trying to, the other thing people don't realize, like I'd never missed a team.
And you were on the team at the time.
I was on the team at the time, but people don't realize I had not missed a team since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I was on every team from 16 till 34. People don't realize that. Okay. So for me,
that's some Garrick Meinhardt level stuff.
For me, I was like, yo, I can't miss this. I was just stuck on it. And that's where, you know, Peter, in this example of like looking through the pinhole, he's like, dude, like he kept telling me like, what is it if you fence this World Championships? If like, I think either you can make more Olympic teams. So why are you even concerned about this petty World Championships? You've done so many of them. So he finally convinced me. It was like a lot of mental gymnastics, but he convinced me to withdraw from it. And I came back in October.
What was that like, withdrawing from it?
It was tough. It was tough because I just felt like, even me tearing my Achilles, like, I felt like it was like, I've never felt so weak before. Like, I mean, I was walking up the stairs or going up the stairs, like sitting down and coming up like that, you know, like, I was like, you can't move for like 2 weeks. It was a lot. But I think that why I'm grateful that this happened, right, is it gave me a process for like dealing with disappointment and hurt, right? Before that, anytime I did bad at a tournament, I'd be depressed. I'd be broken down. I was beaten down for periods of time until I got another good result, and then I'd be happy again, right? And, you know, fast forward a year when I didn't make the Paris Olympic team, because I had torn my Achilles and had to sit down pretty much a year before, okay? And I had to sit down and just like rebuild things for myself. Me not making the Paris team was easy to handle because it was just like, okay, like I just went through this, like it almost was like all the pressure and all of like the me telling myself I had to do it. All of that was gone, and I was like, okay, you gave it a good shot, D. I mean, no one even thought you'd be able to cut that close, right? So then I had to like figure out from that point what my relationship with the sport was. Did I even want to be around it anymore? To what I want my last bouts to be like, etc. You know. I decided, okay, like, let me take a year and see what happens. Let me see if I still like it in a year. If I enjoy competing.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. And that's why I'm still fencing now. And that's why I came back, because that was a moment that was kind of like, I don't know. Like, that was a moment I had to weigh again, like all the effort, all of the focus that has to go into this to be on a high level again. So like, you know, all the doubts you have in your head, how do you get that doubt out? You know, I'm sure you guys are, how old are you guys now?
I'm 28.
You're 28.
26.
So you guys are already at the age now where people want you to lose it next. They want the kid to beat you.
Yeah.
They want the kid to beat you.
Yeah.
We're the only country in the world.
I was fighting a family at this last night.
We're
The whole family.
We're the only country in the world where we want the elite athlete to lose to the kid. Yeah. And like, it's like the upstart, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but just even being in an environment where I had to get my mind ready, like, okay, if I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing this for anyone else, you know? And I think that was probably the biggest thing I had to overcome, probably, like, let's say not making the team, number one, but then the Achilles tear, but then also like the mindset of like, what is my attitude towards the sport going to be moving forward? And like, how am I going to like uplift myself and not beat myself down when things don't go according to plan, so to speak?
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
No, please, man. But it's, again, I think no one talks about this. I have theories for why, but no one talks about it. But think about how many good fencers you know who just like fell off the map, like really good. I'm thinking internationally, where it's like, yo, you can't win a bout anymore. Yeah. They're dealing with the same thing, and no one talks about it.
I love talking about it. I went through a lot of the same. I'm not going to talk too much right now. I'm going to get Steven's got questions too, but like, I'm coming back from 2 season-ending injuries, got 2 surgeries back-to-back months. I'm almost a year out from the first of those surgeries. I feel you. And it's been really challenging, and it does totally reframe your perspective. And I just I just lost an intense match at the last NAC, and it was really challenging for me. But at the same time, I just feel so grateful to be doing this
still
sport.
Winning, bro. You're still winning.
Like, just to be on the strip feels good. I remember the first tournament I fenced back, I was just emotional to be there. I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, I got to go through all these ups and downs and roller coasters of this tournament. I have to try to reel in my emotions. Like, what a gift. I was just sitting on a couch. Like, this is so much better.
Man.
Yeah.
Word.
Great.
You got anything for us, bro?
Do I even know? I'm thankful I haven't had as serious of an experience with injury, but a lot of it reigns true with like just that doubt whenever there's a dip, whatever the dip is a result of. If it's something within your control, outside of your control, like dealing with that doubt and these things that are coming from external factors, people wishing for you to lose, people asking you, why, passing judgment on you for, why are you still doing this? Are you still doing this kind of thing? It's tough to deal with. And I think, if God forbid I have to go through anything serious like that again, or any sort of setbacks, like I'm going to be re-listening to this and come up with the process and go through it, because at the end of the day, I still love competing. I still love being on the strip, doing the game. So it's powerful stuff.
You just got to give people like your PR answer? Like, yeah. Hey, he's fencing, yeah. Keep it moving. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even pay attention to it because I just know what I'm doing, and I know who supports me, and I know who I'm supporting, and I just rock out and do my thing. Like, I could get more into that. I don't want to get salty at anyone, but
it becomes a lot different, especially as you go through those major dips. It's like, who am I outside of this thing I've been wrapping my identity in, and what actually matters to me?
Facts, yeah.
And it was really, I came out of it a new person. And it's same guy, but I got a podcast now.
And you just come back, you come out knowing you've weathered the storms, man. I saw something the other day. They were like, I think it was a music producer, who was like, you're that guy if you have weathered like 5 different storms to come out on top. Like, no matter what life is thrown at you, you've still come out on top. Yeah. Any loss you've had, you come back out on top. And I think that's where I'm at. I don't really, Yeah,
and that's a great place to be, because it just elevates you as a person, and people pick up on that.
For sure, for sure.
For example, no, don't need to give examples. I think we should say yes, go to the next one.
Well, so one of the things that you've touched on in many different capacities is just having that team around you, and not going at it alone, but having a team of people, PTs, surgeons. Is there, can you give us sort of an idea or shout outs if you'd like about your team?
For sure.
And we also wanted to ask you, of course, about Team Toyota.
For sure.
And Team Prieur. We've asked a lot of people about Team Prieur, so we'll give them a little plug. But yeah.
But just to segue into it a little bit, like the Toyota plug, like that's, I want to understand more about your relationship with that, because, growing up and seeing like, oh my God, like a fencer, like Daryl got like a major brand spawn. That was such a cool concept and just such a cool opportunity. And for me and like my former little 15-year-old self, I'd just love to hear more about the dynamics of you with this brand and, what you're doing with that.
Dude, my 28-year-old self wants to hear about it.
But 15-year-old me was like really curious.
Well, I drove Toyota until I moved to this city and sold my old Corolla, Poindexter, RIP. Had him for many years.
That was a shitbox.
He was an amazing car. I don't know what Steven's talking about, but he was a shitbox. But not because he was a Toyota. He actually weathered the storm, 5+ storms, because he was a Toyota.
I love it. When we talk about teams, like I think obviously I lost a huge part of my team, Peter, last December. So that was like gut wrenching. He was someone I relied on for everything. I go to his house, we'd have wine, we'd have dinner, we'd talk about my life. If I had issues with my girlfriend, he'd talk to my girlfriend at night again. Like we were, I was at his house probably twice a week, and so that was like a huge loss, obviously. But, Achilles and Spencer are all my coach. I'm really, really lucky. A really good friend of mine, Tom Seitz, who was in the French team, is now in the States. So as a resource, as a training partner, he's been amazing. Obviously, my teammates, close teammates, trainer, physio. And I've always just kept a couple guys around me who are just really, really smart in the real world, so I can just pick their brains and like my experiences and just like performance type stuff. So one of them would be Kevin Carroll, who's just been like a human. I mean, he's incredible. He was AI's trainer back in the day, okay. And segued that into a role at Nike, et cetera, et cetera. So I just always try to be around people who are thinking out of the box and are, about performance and about holistic performance. In regards to Toyota, I've been working with Toyota since 2018, I believe. Amazing sponsor. We have it's literally like a family, like skateboarders, snowboarders, I guess athletes across all disciplines of sport. They bring us together for different events throughout the year. And it's been dope. I mean, any questions you have, I'm happy to answer. But it's been an amazing experience. And yeah. Awesome. I drive a Supra.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing that like Instagram video, 2018, I guess, or 2019, whatever. It was yellow, yeah?
I did have a yellow one for a bit.
In the video. Yeah.
I have a black one now, but yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, we say it and we'll say it again. Any level of support for any athlete in any sport is a big deal. In fencing, it's a bigger deal. The top athletes have a hard time getting sponsorships. So when they have them, it's a huge deal. And lower level, it's even harder. So any level of support we respect on the show. Luckily, this is a PPP episode, so we get to shout out our shared sponsor, Prior, and just thank them. And I know that you're previously Team Absolute. I know they treated you well. So this is not any anti. We're pro. We've had plenty of Absolute athletes out here. What was it like, getting to meet Antoine and having him, invest in you and your vision and yourself as an entity outside of just the fencing strip later in your career? Because I mean, the whole point is he bought into something bigger than just Daryl's fencing results, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I grew up like, any fencing club in the world you go to, you look at like the images of the Cuban team, the French team, and everyone's in Prior, So I think it's the legacy of the brand is huge, and I've always just thought it was it's a dope brand. Like, it's one of the oldest fencing brands in the world.
The guy in your dictionary is probably wearing it.
Yeah, for sure. But I've always just, I think it's, I'm really privileged and I'm really grateful to be working with the brand. I think that there's so much they can do in the U.S. market, like by bringing the legacy they have abroad here. And I think the craftsmanship is dope, and I'm really excited to partner with the brand. So I think it's an amazing team of athletes too. Everyone seems like a really good person. Even us being able to collaborate on something like this is dope. And Antoine's just a cool dude. Just a cool, laid back guy. And he's straightforward. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I remember when certain equipment brands no one wanted to wear, because they were just like, I mean, I'm grateful for what's been built, and with other brands. But I think we can do a lot with Prior, and I'm really excited for that.
Absolutely. And they've already started making their mark. The amount of Prior masks alone that I've seen since they officially opened in June or July of 2024.
Yeah.
It's skyrocketed.
Yeah, Saber. I mean, I'm seeing more kids with Saber.
That's thanks to you, man.
Yeah, come on,
Daryl and Maya, and now Grant, another NAC champion. Like,
yeah, we're just getting started.
Absolutely. We're plugging them every week on this podcast. We're at just a couple hundred. If you're listening to this now, you're in the first couple thousand listens of this podcast. But Prior is getting in on the culture of fencing, and I think that is huge.
And they're trying to build the culture.
Absolutely. Too. You can't outcompete. Gary already Absolute owns a lot of the deals with USA Fencing. That being said, that leaves a huge gap where they haven't touched. Mm-hmm. And people like Antoine coming in really hungry. They want to support. They support. And I know of the ideas that you pitched to Antoine. He's a yes man to that. We pitched some cool ideas. Yes man to those too. Like this this team wants to build, wants to grow, wants to empower us to create.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
No, for sure.
Yeah. We gotta. There's one more question.
All right, ask away. Go for it.
And then, I know I've been really dominating here.
No, you're good.
We're good.
What's new?
Steve and I constantly have to. We debrief after every episode. Everyone here, if you're listening, you already know I talk a lot. But are we doing okay this episode?
We're doing great.
All right. This is important. You and I texted about this before, and I just want to bring it up before we get into some of our final segments. There's obviously stuff we wanted to talk about. We'd love to talk about in the future, but this is one thing I want to talk about now. Any number of things, or just one thing, but what would you like to see change about the sport? It's a huge loaded question, but I know you wanted to talk about it at least a little, and we love to talk about that.
On a USA fencing level or on FIE level?
You choose, man. We could talk about one now, one later. Like it's just in general, this sport is something that we love. We're passionate about. We share that fire. That being said, it's antiquated. It's amateur. There's a lot, and it has been growing. There's no hate on the growth that it's had in terms of numbers and investment. Sure. That being said, we know that things can change for the better, for the athletes, for the parents, for the families, for the coaches, for the experiences of the top athletes at these tournaments where you're fencing in a basketball gym. Like, you can pick anything you want, Daryl.
On a U.S. fencing level, I'd like to see better organized competitions. I feel like when I describe these competitions to, like, it's actually interesting. Like at a World Cup, there might be less people in the venue. But at least there's a schedule with a degree of professionalism. I feel like a lot of these NACs just feel like a pee-wee football camp with different teams playing on the same field and running around. And it just doesn't, coaches right behind the ref. And it doesn't feel like it's honoring the time and commitment that people are putting in, right? And I think we're fencing on cement floors, on metal strips on cement floors. Like, it doesn't even, like, that's not even safe.
Hey, but we have a medic team.
So for me, I think that's one thing. I think I'd love to see more athlete support for sure. I'm grateful for the support I've gotten externally from fencing, but I think I'd love to see more athlete support. And that's not to say that, there are huge strides that have occurred now. But I think I'd love to see more athlete support. I'd love to see just more professionalism. And I think we're at an interesting point where we are trying to get more professional as an organization. But I think that there has to be a counterbalance that everything has to go up more professionally. I think athletes would definitely be asked to be more professional for sure. But yeah, obviously, I think that what we were talking about before we got on camera is just more people understanding what this sport is and the stories in the sport, and just really getting more context about the sport out. I know everyone that meets me is fascinated about it, but it's like, how do you make that bigger? How do you tell more compelling stories about it? How do you make it less exclusionary, right? I think those are things I'm really interested in, and I'd love to see change.
Yeah, and it goes at both ends. You want to make the access to anyone to do it larger, but to compete at a national senior, like there has to be a really, really strong, abrupt ripping of this Band-Aid. Like it is too easy to compete nationally in this sport. And that's something that will probably lead to a high level of professionalism. You shouldn't be fencing the Pee-wee football guys. Like at a certain point, to get to fence Colin Heathcock, Daryl Homer, Mitchell Starr, and Eli Dershowitz, like you gotta have some serious wins underneath you. But at the current level, you sign up for a national competition. I was fencing people at this last national competition. There were 2 kids in my pool that looked like they didn't even want to be there. Like, how am I supposed to focus and train to be the best person? Look, if you're a professional, you got to do it.
Facts.
But I'm like, well, I don't even want to beat you. I want to beat your parents for making you come here, like, or whatever led to this behavior or this whatever is. is just pulling away from the essence of what we're talking about, which is elevating. So like you have to increase access, in my opinion. I totally agree. We have to continue finding ways to make it less exclusionary to enter and to get the knowledge, the baseline, the equipment, all the stuff. But in order to make that professional, you have to make it more exclusionary to be at the top. And does that mean that maybe it's a little unfair or something, like some people get grandfathered in? Sure, but you have to make it exclusive. Like then people will work harder to get to that top level.
Dude, I remember a couple of years ago, nationals were like 50 people.
Back in the day.
And I didn't mind that, but I understand why it didn't make sense financially. But I thought that was
who
dope.
cares?
50 people?
Dude,
like
then it's just the top 50 people in the country. You have to have like a top 32, I think, in Div 1 to qualify is what it used to be.
Oh, really?
It was top 32 in Div 1, or if you're top 4 in cadet or top 8 in juniors.
I loved it.
And that's it. That's the national championships, and it's like literally the best of the best. It's a small tournament. It's cutthroat.
I
you have
loved
top
it.
level people getting cut from pools.
Exactly. It was war.
It was war, and that's how it has to be. And other countries have that. For us, national championships now, they're just like check this box, you're in. Oh, then there's another box. Oh, you appealed? What you are? Why not? And it really doesn't. I totally agree with the way that you described it. Not that I've been to a Pee Wee football camp, but it is.
I'm just describing it, but
yeah. It feels like that, and it feels as though, you know. Sure, let the younger age groups have that, but as you level up, you have to level up across the board. And we're leveling up, like you said, we're being asked to be more professional. We're leveling up our skills. The referees in many cases are trying to be more professional. I know that they're doing a large push on referee education and all this stuff, but like it's got to be across the board.
Yeah, for sure.
Like how are you going to have spectators if all the kids are fencing? And they're fencing again the next day, and they're fencing again the next day.
Yeah.
Like, who do you think is spectating fencing? The kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, thanks for answering that.
Yeah, no worries.
No, I think it's a good discussion to sort of wrap up with. Is just what could make this sport more? What could really like usher us into another generation of greatness for both the U.S. and just the sport in general?
What's your take, Steven?
My take. I like you guys' takes. Really, no. I think
he's a yes man.
No. Okay, sure. But I think the quality of the presentation is what will help bring in viewership. And I think viewership is what we should sort of strive for to gain the funds to then do all these things. Dude. And restructuring can then provide the opportunity to film these things or to like present these things to the public. But we need people to give a shit, and people aren't going to give a shit if you can't watch it, and you can't watch it because it sucks.
Dude, even as is now, you're paying $300 to fence one event. You're an Olympic silver medalist and you paid those $300. I know you did.
Yeah.
Because I paid them too. I'm not an Olympic silver medalist, but there's no special deal for winning.
If
I was, I'd pay them as well. And on top of that, you get to the streams, the quarterfinals, it freezes every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
How is that possible that everything is elevating, all this stuff, and then you get to the point where people will finally watch it, your family, your friends, whatever, they're logging in online.
Yeah, it's pixelated.
And it's like, oh, wait, it's 3 points different from what it was like a second ago. What's going on? I go to rewatch a match of mine or anybody's, Steven's match from this last tournament, and it's just like he starts a lunge, and then next thing I know, he's just walking back to the end guard line. And it's
you're better off getting the iPhone footage from like one of the parents.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. Well, it's not what it is, but hopefully
it's better one day.
Hopefully it'll continue improving. Steven, you should read this one this time. I read it out last time. So we got to do one plug specifically. We would like to start. While Steven pulls it up, we started a couple episodes ago calling out nonprofits and charities on our podcast, and this one's an easy one because you represent the Peter Westbrook Foundation. We're going to give them a shout out and do a little not an ad read necessarily, but just promotion.
Great.
So we've written a little excerpt, but the Peter Westbrook Foundation addresses social, physical, academic, and health barriers by leveraging the unique sport of fencing to offer structured physical activity, academic support, and world-class coach mentors to help underrepresented youth excel. We've put the link in our podcast description. So, as well as
I think their Instagram is at Peter Westbrook Foundation. We'll put that as well in the description. Also, just clarifying, Steven and I did not write that. I copy and pasted it from the Peter Westbrook Foundation.
Pulled
I love it.
Yeah, I did not come up with that. I don't think I could do better.
sorry,
Someone
if
else.
I used the word written, I apologize.
Someone else did it. But the point is, PWF is great. Daryl's been talking about how, his legendary career would not have been possible without the support and the relationships that he made at Peter Westbrook Foundation. And Daryl's not alone. They produce so many Olympians, and not just, Olympians, Olympic medals. That's great. But one thing that we're talking about is just becoming an Olympian in life. They give out so much access to the sport, access to scholarships to high schools. So many fencers from the Peter Westbrook Foundation get access to universities and scholarships at universities that otherwise would not have been made possible given their resources and exposure and just so much. The mentorship and the friendships and the bonds created by the Peter Westbrook Foundation are, bounteous. And I think that organizations like this should only continue to grow. So Thank you to Peter Westbrook Foundation. And again, everything's in our bio or in our description.
So our final segment, we like to call it one light answers.
Okay.
So to get one light, you got to be definitive, you got to be fast, and you got to be secure in your response. So whatever comes to your head first, use that saber reaction time and creativity. And we're just going to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Take it away, Steven.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
2 favorite fencers, go.
Keith Smart, Otto Montano.
Ooh, those are good. All right. What is the favorite city that you've been to for fencing?
Havana, Cuba.
That was good.
What's in your equipment bag that probably shouldn't be?
I may have like socks, old socks.
That's good. What's your go-to hype-up song?
I have a full playlist.
Okay.
Yeah.
What type of playlist?
Hip hop, R&B from around the world. Yeah.
I like that.
Who's the most challenging bout you've ever fenced?
Okay. In the U.S. or globally?
Just in your
career.
life. Like who? If we say hardest bout you ever fenced, most challenging bout.
Osenguk.
Okay. Yeah, that seems on track with what it looks like to fence him. Who wins? Prime Peter Westbrook or Prime Daryl Homer?
I'll give it to Pete. I'll get a couple wins in, but Pete was amazing. I'll give deference to,
Yeah, he's a dog.
You're going to recreate, using that same prime thought process, who's your all-time USA fencing saber team? You get to pick 4 athletes in their prime.
Peter Westbrook, myself, Keith Smart, and I'll take, who else is fencing that I love? Eli Dershowitz, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. No worries.
I'm sorry.
We'll
Eli.
just cut straight to
Yeah.
He was in this studio. That is a great team. Have you always had the dump truck? If not, was it just squats or something else?
Yeah. I mean, squats. A lot of my legs are strong. Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to have the balls to read that one. I'm so happy. And final
optional
question.
next to it.
Final question. What's your favorite piece of pre-air equipment?
The gloves.
We like the gloves too for
Padding,
everything.
yeah.
That's good. Well, Daryl, it's genuinely been an honor, and having you come out here, be transparent, open about your journey has not just inspired us, it's hopefully inspired our listeners and future listeners, and hopefully just given you more peace of mind in an outlet and a platform that will be around for quite a while. And people will continue to find this for years to come, and your story is a great one, and we can't wait to work with you more.
I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much for taking the time. Truly, usually I got to tell Ari to shut up, but this time I just wanted to sit back and listen. Your takes on your whole career, incredible stories first of all, but also just applicable to a lot of things that people go through, not just in fencing, but in journeys through life and trying to achieve anything. And I think wherever someone is at any point in that struggle, in that pursuit of something, I think there's something in what you've spoken about today for everyone.
I appreciate you guys.
So
thank you.
Really, thank you so much for taking the time and for being vulnerable and sharing all that you have to offer.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, oh man. No, I just want to say thank you to Prior for your support. Episodes like this wouldn't be possible without you all.
Be sure to follow, like, share, and subscribe for more episodes just like this one.